They've got to do it. UCF has to win a game versus the worst team in the Big 12.
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us up, turn us on, turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, Andrew Gluco, senior writer at UCFKnightZone.com to talk a little UCF football here on a Monday night. Andrew, on today's show, we're going to talk about this must-win game versus the worst team in the Big 12, which is Oklahoma State. Then we're going to size Oklahoma State up, talk a little bit about who they got over there on their side and why UCF should be able to win this matchup. And at the end of the show, I want to talk about what a loss would mean or what a win would mean for UCF in this game. Let's start at the top. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time, guys. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets for a game. Download the Game Time app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. I want to thank our title sponsor as always. This is a must-win game for a UCF because in your quest to become bowl eligible, this puts you one game away if you can get this one. And as I mentioned, this is the worst team in the Big 12. I want to remind everybody where our fellow Locked On hosts voted Oklahoma State. They said they were 12th out of 16 teams. I can confidently say that we were wrong. That they are not 12th out of 16 teams. They're probably 16 out of 16 teams. Talk to me about Oklahoma State and this game and your UCF. What's the spread on this game? Let's start there. What's the spread on this game, Andrew?
When I last checked, it was actually pretty sizable. I think it was like 16 points. UCF was favored.
14. It opened at 13.5. It has moved to 14.5. They are 14.5 point favorite on FanDuel, getting minus 800 on the money line, plus 500 for Oklahoma State. So you are a better than 2 touchdown favorite versus the worst team in the conference. You've had your problems if you're UCF, but you got to get this game, man. Beat these dudes because you can and you should.
Yeah, you have to look at the numbers. I mean, Oklahoma State basically averages 2 touchdowns a game. They average 14.3 points a game. You look at the games they played. They've had 2 that they score. 2 conference games where they scored less than 7 points. Last week against Kansas State, which was just a really disgustingly bad football game. I mean, both teams just looked absolutely horrendous. It wasn't even good defense. It was just bad football. And Oklahoma State lost 14-6. And then, of course, when they played Texas Tech, they got shellacked 42-0. So this is a team that has an offensive problem. They have defensive problems. They give up 36 points a game on the other side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, versus UCF, who's still up on their overall scoring, 25-4, just shy of 23 against. But as we know, UCF's numbers have gotten a lot more stale as the season has worn on. UCF's very injured. I mean, half this team is currently, in the hospital, healing up or something. And Oklahoma State, they've got their own problems. And I know we'll talk a little bit more in depth on that, but this is beyond a must win. Aside from the fact, UCF's post-game life is not dead yet. It's on life support. There is no margin of error.
Yeah. You got to win.
If you lose this one, I mean, just relegate yourself back to the American. I mean, this would be the ultimate embarrassment to lose to this, this Oklahoma State team, which is just complete in disarray. They fired Mike Gundy. I mean, this team collapsed last year. The collapse continued this year. Their only win is against an FCS school, and most of their losses were not close. I mean, they lost by a touchdown to Tulsa and the 8-point to Kansas State. Everything else,
I want to interject a point here, right? Because UCF, I think, they've won the games so far this season that they absolutely should have won, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, they just haven't won any of the ones that have either been on the fence or anybody who's clearly been better than them. I want to make it clear to our listeners, this is a team that is clearly not better than UCF.
This team's worse than North Carolina.
Right.
This team's worse than West Virginia. This team's worse than Jacksonville State.
Yeah, I definitely called the blowout versus North Carolina, much to the chagrin of North Carolina fans. So at least we have some precedent for them winning the ones that they should win. As we mentioned, this is a bad team. Last week, Oklahoma State, they lost at home to Kansas State 14-6.
Yeah, it was an ugly game, Mike. I watched part of that and needed a drink. I mean, it was just, I like good defensive football. This was just bad football. It was just painful to watch.
Yeah. You remember in the Avengers when Black Widow was like, I got red in my ledger and I'm looking to wipe it out. Oklahoma State has plenty of red in their ledger. Red L's since week 1. 1 win. They have taken an L every single week since the start of the season. And I am telling you, I don't, like I said, this is going to sound like we're just crapping on Oklahoma State because we are. I just think this is a must win for Scott Frost here. Just at least you can hang your hat on no terrible losses, right? If you win this game, you don't have a bad loss on you don't have any, you have any good wins, but you don't have a bad loss, right, on your schedule. And
right.
And I think for a team that's rebuilding, you get to 5, and then you survive to that finale versus BYU, where you will have a chance to put a really, really good win on the docket and get bowl eligible in the same breath. So, can UCF do it? Well, again, we'll see. I think Tayven Jackson's performance this past weekend gives me some confidence that we may see the best version of him during this game. And I think this is the last home game of the season for UCF. Is it
correct?
Not? Yeah, it's the last home game of the season. You want to go out. You want to go out winning your last home game in a season like this. Give fans that, man. You lost your first space game ever this year. Don't stack this on that. Is how I feel. You can't stack this on that. So, we agree though, right? Like this is a must win for UCF.
Oh, absolutely. In more ways than one. This is an absolute a must win for any postseason chance, which is still not dead. But also, this would be the ultimate egg in their face if they don't win. You're playing against your weakest FBS opponent of the year, and you finish your home season with that. I mean, that is not how Scott Frost drew this up before the season started.
Yeah. In terms of on defense, right? Like they Oklahoma State is impressively last in a lot of categories. So defensively, they are last in yards per game allowed, last in passing yards per game allowed. This is in the Big 12. They are, 16, 15, 14, 13th in rushing yards allowed, and they are dead last in points per game allowed on defense. Offensively, they are last in yards per game. They are last in passing yards per game. They are 14th in their rushing yards per game, and they are last in points per game.
They're also last in wins because they're the only team with no conference wins. Imagine UCF being the guy that they end up getting that 1 for.
Well,
and
yeah,
then
you can't be
tiebreaker. You end up at the bottom of the Big 12.
I mean, I would say this. Yes, they're the worst team in the conference. If you lose this team by the laws of nature, you are the worst team in the conference. So,
by the laws of nature, you are expelled.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. There's talent on this UCF football team. It may not have come together the the way we would have liked this season. But we all agreed it was a rebuild when the year started. So beat Oklahoma State, man. But look, I spit out some stats about Oklahoma State. We're going to dig a little deeper into who they are and why UCF should win this game. And next on Locked On UCF. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with our friends at FanDuel, the official betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game and you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. You can even combine all your bets into a same game parlay for a chance at even greater payout. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers up to $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com and download the app today to get in on the action with our friends at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Oklahoma State, as I mentioned, dead last in almost anything that matters. They are last in life.
Almost anything that
Oh,
matters.
my goodness. Their quarterback, Zane Flores, has thrown for just over 1,100 yards this season. He is completing 62.4% of his passes. And Andrew, he's got 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, which is one of the worst touchdown to interception ratios.
Let's add something onto that, Mike.
Hmm.
That 2 touchdown passes is the team lead.
Yeah, they're struggling to score points there. Yeah, they're struggling to score points. I gotta think that UCF is going to tee it up on this young man and get after him and just make him so uncomfortable. I see pick sixes. I see fumble recoveries for touchdowns in UCF's future. This game is in the bounce house. I can't imagine they're going to be able to do much versus a UCF defense that has been better than the win-loss total that we see for UCF. The UCF's got talent. I think Scott Frost and his team did a good job of putting together some talent out of the portal to have a team that could compete and give some teams some worries. I don't see how this Oklahoma State offense could overcome UCF's defense at home in their house.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be up to the offense whether this team wins or loses. The offense has cost them multiple games. I mean, I can spit out 3 off the top of my head that their offense cost them the win. That was Cincinnati, Houston, and Kansas. You know, all those games. If the offense did their job, UCF wins those games. And they may have won elsewhere, maybe Kansas State. But you can the argument that those 3 games were determined by bad offense, I think is a very defensible statement. So it really comes down to what is the offense going to do, what they're going to look like. Now, with UCF just being a flat out better team on paper than Oklahoma State, the hope is that, you know, a running back like Jay Nixon gets a chance to kind of just break out a little bit against his former team, I might add. As we know, players love to get a little extra jazz when they go up against their former guys. You know, Myles Montgomery did it against Cincinnati. You know, Jay Nixon against Oklahoma State. He was a team member. He was a teammate there back in 2023, backing Ollie Gordon when they came to the bounce house and got trounced 45-3. That was really the start of the destruction of Mike Gundy, because it carried into 2024. The team was terrible, and then 3 games into 25, he got the boot, and Doug Meacham has done. I mean, he's working with nothing, and that's why Gundy got canned. Is, you know, the recruiting. You know, we've talked about this offline before about the evolution of having to recruit. We've talked about Nick Saban and him leaving because of the changes that happened. Mike Gundy could not evolve with the times with this, and his roster became very apparent that they were failing to evolve. So I don't think Oklahoma State's going to be down for long. They got some pretty wealthy benefactors there, but they need someone who can understand the system of, you know, the portal, NIL, all that stuff, embrace it, and move forward, which is what Mike Gundy wouldn't do. And this team is stripped down. I mean, you talk about Flores. Flores is a freshman quarterback. Their second leading passer is Auburn transfer Sam Jackson, who's a wide receiver quarterback hybrid. I mean, that's your second leading passer. So I mean, this is a team you've had 8 different players on this team throw a pass between wide receivers and quarterbacks. So 4 different quarterbacks have played. So this is a decimated team. No depth. Definitely a void of FBS level talent. The closest game was against Tulsa, and Tulsa's not a world beater at all, and they lost. So I mean, the leading rusher, Rodney Fields, he's about 527 yards on 105 carries, 1 touchdown. That's about a 5-yard per carry average, which isn't bad, but there's really not much behind that. It's a smattering of players. No real star, that can rise up. You look at the receivers, no real star rises up. Mike, this is a bad team. And UCF's defense might be, pretty rough shape physically, but that's a never quit team. The defensive squad, they don't quit. And while they were just flat out outmatched against Texas Tech, they didn't quit. And you got to give them a little bit of credit that they were outmatched. They had no depth. They were just getting run over. That isn't because they didn't try hard. They just when your best players are either playing beat up or just flat out of the game in multiple positions. I mean, what are you going to do? At that point, you're playing against a team that's close enough to full strength and has so much depth that even if they're not at full strength, they're still better than you. And that's what they're the best team money can buy. And UCF just didn't have a chance. So I think this week, if they can get a little bit healthier, that defense can really, really do something special next week.
Look, what will a win mean, and what would a loss mean this weekend to UCF? We're going to get to the break, and when we come back, we'll talk about that next on Locked on UCF. This episode of Locked on UCF is brought to you by our friends at Game Time, the best place to buy tickets. College football is back, and we could be more excited here at Locked on UCF. The tailgates, the rivalry, it all makes it so much fun to watch. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, endless queues. That's why we use Game Time here at Locked on UCF. It gives the advantage back to fans, and it's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Look, you pull up the Game Time app, and in just a couple taps, you can see amazing deals. Some of your favorite games as low as $25. The app makes it super simple, and they have something called zone deals where you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you get crazy discounts. It is a great way to save big on tickets. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you could actually buy tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets today by downloading the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. What would a loss mean, and what would a win mean? Let's close the show talking about what a loss would mean. A loss would mean a failure of epic proportions, a failure to prepare, a failure to do your taxes on time, a failure to do anything right. Like you can't get your team ready for this game. Get your team ready for this game. A loss would mean that UCF's coaches, this is not going to be about talent. This is going to be this would be a dereliction of duty to not get your team up for this game. And the only way I see UCF losing this is if they beat themselves. It's not
which they normally do.
Yeah, against better teams, but not against a team like this. We haven't seen it. You can't start this weekend. That's what a loss would mean to me. It would mean that these coaches focused on the wrong things in preparation for this game and failed to get the team motivated for this. And I get it, right? You're still playing for something. So whatever it takes to get them motivated for this one, that's what you got to do. I think getting to a bowl game should be a big goal for this team. Now, what would a win mean? Well, it means that on the reverse side of that, you were able to get them focused and get them motivated and get them to go out and just win this game, because I don't think that it's enough to just win this one. Andrew, hear me out on this one. I think you need to go and you need to look clean and polished, and you need to look like you learned from the mistakes of past weeks in a game like this. Execute at a high level. Let's see crisp passes. Let's see pass protection pick up. Let's see you look good against a team that you should actually look really, really good against, because how you win this one matters to me. It does. Now, if it's some sloppy game where UCF gets out of there by a field goal or something, kind of how we felt after Jacksonville State, maybe, where
you might as well have lost the game at that point.
Yeah, you won the game, but did anybody feel real great about UCF after? No, man. You're like, well, you just barely got out versus Jacksonville State. You can't. That's how it would feel if they won a sloppy one. Look, beat these guys by multiple scores. Again, you are a 14.5-point favorite. Play like it.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they were going into Texas Tech. I think it was like 26 points or 24 points, something like that. Going into that game. Here's the thing: it's senior day. The last thing you want to do is to play flat for your seniors. So I mean, your coaches shouldn't even have to jazz you up. You go play for your guys. For your teammates. End their home season on a high note. Mm-hmm. Give them a chance to go to Provo, which, by the way, got 6-date on the TV, so we don't know what time the game's going to be yet. But go to give them the chance to go to Provo and play for a bowl game. Make that game mean something. But you want to run them over. You want to run Oklahoma State over. You want to regain some confidence going into that game against Provo, because they're only a couple steps down from Texas Tech. Tech's obviously a much better team than BYU. They settled it on the field, but BYU is no pushover. I mean, they're still in the hunt for the CFP. Right. And there is nothing more satisfying than playing the role of spoiler. You're in your last game of the season, your back's against the wall, and you have the chance to ruin the run of someone in your conference. I mean, this sounds like another school that you cover, Mike.
Yeah. Listen, I'm all about playing spoiler. Yes, mess up their good time, flip the table at the birthday party,
give them nightmares.
Invite the drunk uncle. If we're not having a good time, you're not going to have a good time. I'm all about that.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you make sure they don't have a good time, you're going to have a great time, because at that point, UCF, if they manage to run the rest of the way, they got postseason. And you talked about the extra practices that come with it. Early enrollees starting to get a little bit of action there. I mean, there's so much value. People sometimes forget. Bowl games are largely exhibitions. The majority of them. But it's the other stuff that comes with the bowl game, the practices, the exposure. Yeah. That's the real value of a bowl game. So if UCF can manage to do that, I mean, that's great. If they don't get those extra practices. It's done.
Yeah.
And that's a big loss.
So if you win this one, right, then you have a more powerful message headed out to BYU, to your players, about what's on the line here. And,
play like you have no tomorrow.
Yeah. Where's, I know we're looking up a lot on this show, but BYU, right, they sit at 9-1. And there will be a lot on the line for them in that game as well, too. I mean, they play Cincinnati this weekend.
Yeah, they're hosting Fox Big Noon kickoff.
Yeah, they're number 12 in the country right now. But there is a real opportunity, I think, for the Big 12 to get two teams into this college football playoff.
They have a chance for 3.
Yeah, better than much better than last year. Yeah, much better than last year. I mean, where they only got Arizona State in the conference champion. But you close your season if you're BYU at Cincinnati and then home versus UCF. If they don't, well, I mean, whether they win or lose next weekend, right? Like they could finish a 2-loss team in the regular season and still have a real shot at a college football playoff. Man, I there's going to be a lot on the line for them. So you have an exactly zero chance of getting a lackluster BYU team heading into that final matchup. You're going to get their best shot. And if you giving them your best shot involves beating Oklahoma State and making sure there's just as much on the line for you as there is for them in that game. So, look, man, UCF can't make the playoff, but the bowl game does matter, and I don't care what anybody says. Like I said, those extra practices, Kane Archer is going to be an early enrollee. He has been firm in his commitment to UCF, Andrew, and if you can get him into bowl practice and get him throwing the ball around and create some excitement around this program early, why not? Why not? So, yes, I am a glass half full guy when it comes to this conversation. Final word to you, my friend. What will a win mean? In 2 sentences here for UCF.
I love what UCF does in their media guide every week. A win would be ... better than a loss.
Fair enough. Again, and for us as well too, a win would be better than a loss to talk about. Certainly, we haven't gotten a whole lot of wins to talk about. Hopefully, we get a couple more to close the season. Andrew Gluco, senior writer at UCFKnightsZone.com. I want to thank you for joining me on today's show. I want to thank everybody for listening to this show. We have crossed 1,200 subscribers here at Locked On UCF. We hit our year last month, and we want to continue to grow. So please hit like and subscribe on the channel, and we'll see you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On UCF.